Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava Metzia, page 20b, part 2, with the words Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Omer. The Mishnah teaches that Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says, if one finds 3 promissory notes that make reference to the loans of one person who borrowed from 3 people, he must return them to the debtor. The Gemara explains the reason for this is that if it enters your mind that these promissory notes belong to the creditors, what are they doing together in one place? The Gemara suggests perhaps the 3 creditors all went to court in order to ratify their promissory notes, and the notes were lost together there. The Gemara responds that the Mishnah is referring to a case where the promissory notes are ratified. The Gemara asks, perhaps they fell from the hand of the scribe of the court after he ratified them. The Gemara answers, a person does not leave his ratified promissory note in the possession of the scribe. Therefore, the most likely scenario is that the promissory notes were lost by the debtor. The Mishnah teaches, if the promissory notes make reference to the loans of 3 people who borrowed from one person, the one who found them must return them to the creditor. The Gemara explains the reason for this is that if it enters your mind that these promissory notes belong to the debtors, what are they doing together? The Gemara asks, perhaps the 3 went to one scribe to write the promissory notes, and the notes were then lost together. The Gemara answers that the Mishnah is referring to a case where the promissory notes are written in the handwriting of 3 different scribes. The Gemara suggests, and perhaps the 3 debtors went to the court in order to ratify the promissory notes, and they lost them there. The Gemara answers, it is the creditor who ratifies his promissory note. The debtor does not ratify his promissory note. The Mishnah teaches, if there are cancellations of contracts, simponot, among one's documents, he should do what is stated in the simponot. The Gemara cites that which Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba says, that Rav says, with regard to a simpon that emerges from the possession of a creditor, even if it is written in his own handwriting and is clearly not forged, it is considered as though he were merely jesting, and the simpon is invalid. The Gemara explains, it is not necessary to state this halacha in a case where it is written in the handwriting of a scribe, as it can be said that he happened to have an opportunity to have the scribe write the simpon, and therefore he had to write it before the debt was repaid. But even in a case where it is written in the handwriting of the creditor is invalid, the creditor may have written the simpon himself before the debt was repaid, thinking perhaps the debtor will happen to come at twilight on the eve of Shabbat and wish to repay me. I should prepare a document of cancellation, as if I do not give him one, he will not give me the money. I will therefore write the document now, so that when he brings me the money, I will give it to him. The Gemara challenges the statement of Rav based on that which we learned in the Mishnah. If there are simponot among one's documents, he should do what is stated in the simponot. This is apparently referring to simponot that are in the possession of the creditor. The Gemara answers that the Mishnah is to be understood in accordance with that of Rav Sofer, that which Sofer said in response to another difficulty, is referring to a case where the simpon is found among torn documents. This indicates that the simpon is valid, as had the debt not been repaid, the creditor would not have put the simpon note among torn documents. Here too, the Mishnah is referring to a case where the simpon was found among torn documents. Come in here another challenge to Rav's statement from the Mishnah in Bava 172a. If one found among his documents a simpon that says, the debt mentioned in the promissory note of Yosef ben Shimon is repaid, and there are two people by that name who owe him money, the debts mentioned in the promissory notes of both of them are considered repaid, as each can claim the cancellation is referring to his debt, and the burden of proof rests upon the creditor. Apparently, a simpon that is found in the possession of the creditor is valid. As Rav Sofer said, the Gemara answers that this Mishnah too is to be understood in accordance with that which Rav Sofer said in response to another difficulty. It is referring to a case where the simpon was found among torn documents. Here too, the Mishnah is referring to a case where the simpon was found among torn documents. Tashima, coming here another challenge to Rav's statement from Mishnah in Shavuot 45a. If orphans who inherited their father's property demand repayment of a debt owed to their father from the orphans of the debtor, they are required to take an oath stating, we take an oath that our father did not instruct us on his deathbed that the debt mentioned in this promissory note was repaid and it should be returned to the debtor, nor did our father say to us on an earlier date that it was repaid, nor did we find among the documents of our father a simpon stating that this promissory note was repaid. This too seems to indicate that a simpon is valid even if it is found in the possession of the creditor. The Gemara answers by citing the statement of Rav Sofer, who said, in this context, that the reference is to a case where the simpon was found among torn documents. Come in here another challenge from Raita. A simpon upon which witnesses are signed is ratified by means of its signatories. The court verifies the validity of the witnesses' signatures and thereby ratifies the document. This too seems to include a simpon that is in the possession of the creditor. The Gemara answers say that the Brisa reads, is ratified by obtaining confirmation from its signatories.